Good morning, Gityantif. It's Yud Tammuz. Continuing the Maimer from yesterday. Yud Tammuz is the Chag HaGeula, the day that we commemorate the release of the previous Rebbe from communist Russia in 1927. We're in the middle of a Maimer talking about the situation that happened back then when the previous Rebbe was being moved from jail to exile. He said a Sicha, talking about Hashem being with us, explaining the pasuk, the verse that says that Hashem is with us, and He's going to be, He should be with us, and He will be with us the way He was with our ancestors. And we're discussing the concept that He made a distinction that our ancestors have Mesiras Nefesh, and somehow He implied that we don't have Mesiras Nefesh on that level. What does that mean? But there's another question on this pasuk. It says, Hashem Elokeinu imanu. Hashem, our God, should be with us. Now, when we say Elokeinu, our God, the difference between Hashem and Elokeinu is Hashem represents a certain one level, and Elokeinu refers to our chayas, our sustenance, our life. Now, if you're using the word Elokeinu, our God, which means our source of life, with us is a given. Obviously, He's with you. He's giving you life. If you said Hashem should be with us, Yud Kei Vav Kei, or Adonai, something like that, fine. You could say there's this concept of godliness, and we're talking about how it should be with us and help us and so on, which it always will. But that terminology makes sense. But if you're talking Elokeinu, and you say He should be with us, why are you using the word Elokeinu? Elokeinu implies that He's with us. Because in Chasidus we explain that Elokeinu means our chayas, our sustenance, our life. So, Hi Hashem Elokeinu imanu, of course He's imanu. That's number one. Number two, which is really number four already, but number two, when you say, we're on base, when He says imanu, with us, it sounds somewhat like He's secondary. Hashem is with us. With us. He's Hashem. He's the main thing here. And with us means He's tagging along. What does that? It's a pasuk. What does it mean? He should be with us the way He was with them. What's this with thing? If anything, we're with Him. He's not with us. He's the main one. So to explain this, which will help us understand this whole context of why we were referring to us not having Mesiras Nefesh the way they did, even though we all have Mesiras Nefesh when the previous Rebbe says this Maimer, this Sicha. We need to understand why Mesiras Nefesh, Yiras Shamayim, fear of heaven, is referred to as a treasure. It says, Oitzar, a treasure regarding Yiras Shamayim, fear of heaven, awe, respect, reverence for Hashem. Why do you use the term a treasure of Yiras Shamayim? And the reason is because a treasure, when a king has a treasure, this doesn't sound so nice, but a king's treasure comes from other places. He gathers it from other sources. That's how he makes up his treasure. Then it goes from generation to generation, and it's passed down from one king to the next, but it's gathered from other sources. It's not like his own resources that he produced. Yiras Shamayim, in a sense, works the same way, because it's not something which is just given to you. It has to be produced. You have to get it from somewhere else outside of yourself. And not outside of yourself, I don't mean not you, but it's not like you're born with it or you just have it.
It's not you have
to get
Yerusha?
it. No, it's not a Yerusha. It's not an inheritance. You need to develop it. You have to work towards it. You have to get it. So certain things, for example, we have a hidden love for Hashem. We're born with it. It's inside of us. It's part of our DNA. It may be dormant. It may be hidden. It may be subconscious. We have to reveal it, but it's there. We love Hashem. We have an Hashem. We have a soul. It's part of Hashem. We love Hashem. But fear of Hashem, that's a treasure that you have to get from somewhere else, which means you have to work on it, but you have to make that happen. That's why it's called the treasure. The Gemara says, Hakol b'dei shamayim, everything comes from heaven, besides Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Shamayim is something which we need to make happen within ourselves. You have to create that, develop it, produce it. Thank you. And that's why it's called treasure. Huh?
Sure.
Give an example. The example that Rabbi brings. It says, we had this in Rambam recently, regarding the laws of kings, right? The pasuk is same tasim alach hamalach. You should appoint for you a king. Now, which implies a lot of things here. A king doesn't just show up and say, "I'm your king," and somehow he's king. The people make him king. He could be a tyrant, he could be a dictator, he could be in control, but a king is appointed by the people. They decide, we want to have reverence for this king. Once they do that, he's king. And every year they have to recrown him, whatever. But it's a true king is a result of the people appointing him. That means that you decide, I want to have fear of this king. I want to respect him. I want to make him this person my king. And the same thing is in our relationship to Hashem. We have to decide that. He's our God either way. But the Yirah Shamayim part comes from us. It's not automatic. And obviously, there's a gilui, there's a revelation from above that helps it, but it's only an aid. It's an extra push. We could never do it on our own, but what's the emphasis here is that it's us having fear of Hashem and producing it, and Hashem helps us. He gives us an interest in doing it, but it comes from ourselves. We're good? Now, the reason why that's the case by Yirah Shamayim specifically, by Yirah, is because Yirah is bittul. Yirah represents a certain level of nullification. You're the powerful one, and I am nothing. I'm subservient, or I am dedicated, or I'm available, whatever it is, I'm going to do whatever you want. It's a level of bittul, of nullification.
Could you just go back and look at how the Shema differentiates? I mean, how this answers to that.
In Shema, you mean? So, we didn't say Shema, we said, Hi Hashem Elokeinu. So, it was a separate question which we didn't answer yet. We're getting to that answer by introducing this question. Because Hashem Elokeinu implies that he's our Koyach and our Chayas, right? And if he's our Chayas, then why do you have to say he should be with us? He's our sustenance. Obviously, he's with us. Besides the fact that with us sounds somewhat like secondary. You don't say secondary about Hashem. He's not with us. We're the main macho, and he's coming around.
Yeah. Maybe.
Now, the reason why we say Yirah Shamayim, specifically fear of heaven, by that fear of heaven has to come from us, is because Yirah requires bittul, nullification. You see, when somebody loves, there's not bittul, there's very much a sense of self. I am loving, I am feeling, I'm appreciating. It's about me. With another entity, I'm loving something or someone, but I am very central here. That's what love is. Love is not lack of self, as people mistakenly think. Love could be very, very selfish, a very self-centeredness. And the moment that it's hard for me, or the moment that I'm not feeling it, I'm out, right? It's not a dedication. It's a feeling that's all about myself and what I'm gaining out of this relationship or interaction. Fear is very different. Fear is bittul. And you can't just impose that on somebody. You could, but it's not real Yirah. Like an example we brought from a king. Making a king is a decision from the people to crown this person as king. We are dedicating, we're making ourselves nothing, and you're the king, and we're yours. Now you could scare somebody, right? And it's top down, but it's not real Yirah. That's a dictator. That's a tyrant. Yeah. So what we're saying here is Yirah Shamayim is called Eitzar. Fear of heaven is called a treasure. The reason is because it's not just given to you. You have to get it, meaning work on it. It has to come from you. You have to really try to receive it, develop it, produce it. And because it requires bittul, a certain level of nullification and selflessness to have true Yirah Shamayim. It's not about me. It's about Hashem. And in order to have that bittul, that's a decision from the person. I decide I'm going to have bittul now. Okay, if you have an inspiration from outside, okay, Hashem showers you with His blessings, and you start to love Hashem, and you feel it. That's an outside, so to speak, source or cause that's bringing you to do it. It doesn't have to be an inherent change in who you are, because something happened outside of you which is causing you to feel a certain way, a gratefulness, a thankfulness, whatever it is, a love. But when you decide the idea of awe, reverence, respect, fear for Hashem, that's a decision internally that says, you know what, it's not about me. Not because I feel how great it is, not because I enjoy it, not because I appreciate it, because I am nullifying myself to Hashem. That's Yiras Shamayim. And that's why it's Reishis Aveda, it's the first step. Because it's a change within ourselves. The problem with an external inspiration, even if it's real, it runs the risk of not being lasting because it's not an internal change. I was inspired. I was blown away. I didn't decide. I didn't change within myself. At some point, it wears off and it's over.
People who get so involved in nature and it creates feelings of maybe even awe, but it's not internal. It's
correct. So Hashem helps us do it, obviously, and He gives us that push. In a different mimer, when He talks about the Aveda of Elul, He says that in Elul, it's about us, right? We have to do our part and do tshuva and turn to Hashem and so on. But we still need Hashem to inspire us to work on our own. You need that push. You can't do it totally on your own. But if you're trying to define the difference between yira, awe, fear, and ahava, love is something which comes because of something outside of ourselves. It just shines up. It projects. A person saw, felt, whatever was going on, and it caused them to have a love. It's not an internal change. It's a feeling. Very real, very strong, but it's a feeling. Yira is developed. And it changes something within ourselves. What's the difference between a free person? It's another example that he brings, a free person and a slave. They both could be working for somebody. But by a slave, he accepted upon himself, whether he was forced to or not, but at some point he accepted that I am now a slave of the king. And because I'm a slave of the king, I'm his. A free person, he may be committed for an hour, for a day, for a year. He's not there, because it has to come from himself. And it changes the status of the person. And that's what Yiras Shamayim is trying to do, or we hope to accomplish with Yiras Shamayim, is to bring out this change within ourselves. That's real. Now, we're running out of time, but let's just jump for a second to Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh is the same concept. It's bittul. It's not about me. It doesn't even make sense to me. Logically, you should not get killed if you believe in Torah mitzvahs, logically, so that you could do more mitzvahs. Why should you allow yourself, right? He's doing so much work in the underground of Russia and he's accomplishing so much. If he gets caught and shot, it's over. At least that's what it seems like. So maybe we should compromise a little bit and get a little done and be alive. Or if it's important to do mitzvahs, let's just take Mesiras Nefesh of the classic one, right? A non-Jew comes and says, if you don't worship this idol, I'm going to shoot you. Wouldn't it make sense, logically, to worship the idol one time, God forbid, and then keep Shabbos and learn Torah and teach others to do Torah and serve and daven and all this stuff? Logically, if you believe in this concept, why would you go down now? It's not a logical thing. It's something which says, it doesn't make sense to me, but it's not about me. So Yiras Shamayim is bittul. Mesiras Nefesh obviously is bittul. It's like, I don't matter. It doesn't have to make sense to me. It doesn't feel good, obviously. It's not about me. It's about Hashem. Hashem will continue, but bittul, God willing tomorrow, but bittul is the selflessness, the self-nullification that a person reaches. It's a very, very fundamental concept where you could serve Hashem and it's all about yourself. There's reward, there's punishment, there's all the benefits, and they may all be real and accurate, but there's a deeper way of serving Hashem, and that's bittul. It's not about me, it's about Him. You brought the example of love and relationships. When it's all about yourself, it's fake love, it's not real. The feeling is real, but it's not about the other person, it's about me. And the moment that something is not the way I want, or too hard, or not beneficial, then somehow the love is not there anymore. It's not committed. Not all loves, but often. Stopping off for davening. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.